Hey guys, it's Miss Vinian and Elise, my TA. Okay, so we thought we'd bring you some excitement here from room 260 during 8th period on a B day. Right, Elise?
Because 8th period's the best.
That's right. So, today we're going to be talking about essential question, how did progressives try to change life in the U.S. in the late 1800s and the early 1900s? The learning target we're going back to is 2.4. So we didn't finish that one. Surprise! Discuss the major goals of the progressive and muckrakers. So today, Elise, we're going to be talking about the presidents of the progressive era.
Yay, presidents!
Awesome. All right, so sorry about that, guys. All right, go for it, Elise.
So you guys see these political cartoons here. I want you guys to look at them, tell me who Teddy is fighting against and what he is fighting for, and also what side he stands on. Is he pro-trust? Is he anti-trust? What's he looking at?
Okay, and who's he fighting over there? Now, we have 3 presidents we're going to talk about today. Number 1, Teddy Roosevelt. Number 2, William Howard Taft.
That's her boyfriend.
That's Elise's boyfriend. And Woodrow Wilson. Okay, so Teddy Roosevelt is the first one. He'll be the first Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt and Franklin D. Roosevelt were distant cousins. Okay, Theodore Roosevelt, background, he's a popular progressive politician. He becomes William McKinley's VP. This is William McKinley. We have not talked about him yet. We will talk about him when we get to the Imperial era. Just know that he gets shot. Okay, so he becomes the vice president, and he's known as the first Rough Rider. We'll talk more about that when we get to the imperialism. So all you Rough Riders out here, this is the first true Rough Rider. And that is from the Spanish-American War, where he was a volunteer. Okay, so he became president when McKinley was shot. Okay,
Nice.
And here's a question for you. He's the first president that's actually going to reform things. So if you think about progressive era and progress, we're thinking about how government starts getting involved. And he's cool because he expands the role of the government. He takes more power. So as you can see in this picture of him looking like he has a lot of power. Okay, so how did he help the progressives? He had what was called the Square Deal. Now in U.S. history, we're going to have lots of deals. This is one of the first one, the Square Deal, the New Deal, the Fair Deal, all these deals. Okay, so the first, he had 3 C's in his Square Deal. The first one is he's going to control the corporations. So you look at this political cartoon, you can see that he sees that there's good trust and that there's bad trust. Okay, so controlling corporations includes accepting big business, but attacking the irresponsible ones, and they called him the trust buster. So if you remember from monopolies, they got rid of those, and so people started building trusts. Okay, so he also took on the railroads, which is what this political cartoon was about. The Elkins Act and the Hepburn Act made it that all railroads had to have fair pricing. They had to price the farmers the same amount as they had to price the like warehouse, shipping, all those things. Okay, and also I wanted to point out that Teddy Roosevelt is wearing the United States as his underwear, or whatever it is he's wearing.
America!
Woo! Okay, so he's the first president also to mediate between owners and the labor movement. So the coal miners' strike, he basically got in the middle of it and he helped solve problems for the coal miners, which other presidents weren't going to do. So if you remember the Haymarket strike, the Great Railroad strike, the government struck those people down, but he came in and he helped the coal miners. Okay.
So the second C is consumer protection. If you look at this woman, she is a mom that was eating McDonald's with her kids, and there's a chicken head. She was about to eat that. Back then, if that had happened, they would have just been like, oops, sorry, they're sorry about the chicken. Whereas now, if you read what it says, she ended up getting $1 million compensation for it. So TR did a really good job of helping the consumer and protecting them from nasty things like this. So this, the first thing you see is cocaine. Back then, drugs were different than they are now, but there was cocaine in a lot of medicines, and if we go through, I mean, Allen's cocaine tablets, it was everywhere, and you could just buy it. Cocaine toothache.
They didn't really know at least what cocaine would do, right? So they were like, oh, this helps your toothaches. Oh, this will help your cough. Really, because it's an addictive drug, they didn't understand that really you're just getting a drug and getting high, and you're not actually fixing the problem. So
it kind of made you numb for a little bit, like what drugs do.
Right, and there's no regulation on this.
So, I mean, this, they gave alcohol to children.
So 5 days old, 5 drops. 2 weeks old, 8 drops. And at the alcohol on this, 46% of it was alcohol, and also we have opium in here. So just to put that in perspective, maybe a glass of beer, 8 ounces, has probably like 6% alcohol in it. It doesn't have a lot of alcohol. So we're giving 5-day-olds alcohol. Of course, they're going to stop crying because they
are intoxicated.
Okay, and then this one.
Let's look at this one. We have heroin. Everybody's favorite drug, right? Like Ms. Binion said earlier, people were just kind of giving them drugs, and you ended up going numb from it instead of actually fixing the problem because we didn't know what they actually did.
Right. And each of them had their own uses, and heroin was used as a sedative for cough, so like cough syrup, pretty much. Okay, and you can see how they evolved over time, and what they are now, very chemically processed.
So TR passed the Pure Food and Drug Act, Meat Inspection Act, and the Food and Drug Administration, which is the FDA, and those are the guys that are like, okay, you can only have this amount of this in your milk, or, you know, things like that, and they make sure that everything is healthy and that you're not eating soiled food or have rats mixed in with your hamburgers.
That's right. So thank you, TR, because if you look at this political cartoon, it's referencing the jungle in Upton Sinclair where meat was disgusting, and they would like dye it, and it would be rotten meat, and they would make it look good. They would put pickle juice, or they would pickle it so that it would be better, so it would look good. Really, it's disgusting, and lots of people died. So thank you, TR. Okay, so the second C of the square deal was consumerism. All right.
All about you.
Yes, and the third C is conservation of natural resources. So we can thank Teddy Roosevelt for being the one who helps the national parks. Okay, so he and John Muir is the guy who did the John Muir Trail and opened Yosemite National Park and made these beautiful places for us to go and, you know, just conserve the lands that we have.
Love Earth.
Yay! Okay, so national parks were already around, but Teddy Roosevelt made it a priority to make sure that there was land and that these really beautiful places in America weren't destroyed. Go Ted! Woo! We like him. Okay, so also, this is him. He's riding a moose, and he believed in conservation of natural resources, and moose were, you know, going to go extinct. Okay, so moose are also like kind of in your face, so they called him the bull moose, which we'll get to later. All right, so if you see, here's all the national parks and the date that they're established. So basically, you have he created the U.S. Forest Service, and he established the 51st Federal Bird Reservation. Okay, and you can look at the bottom to see all the things he did. Okay, and it says he said 250 million acres of public land is what he helped establish and preserve. Go TR. Awesome. Now we're going to talk about William Howard Taft, who is the president that came after Teddy Roosevelt. Right, Elise?
Yes.
Now, if you look at these pictures, William Howard Taft was elected president because they thought that he could do the same job TR had done. Now, Teddy Roosevelt decided that he didn't want to run again, so the Republican Party had to have another candidate. Now, if you look in these pictures, it kind of shows a little bit that Teddy Roosevelt has influenced William Howard Taft, okay? And when we say influence, basically, we mean he's told him what to do. Teddy had a little lamb. We have Teddy Roosevelt driving the Taft blimp, which is trying to play on his size. And then we also have Teddy Roosevelt's clothes trying to be fit onto William Howard Taft. If you can see, Uncle Sam's kind of skeptic that Taft will fit into Teddy Roosevelt's clothes. So let's see how he did. Okay, so like I said, he was his hand-picked successor. This is like my favorite political cartoon ever. Okay, so basically Teddy Roosevelt and William Howard Taft had a baby that was basically Teddy Roosevelt, and it says my policies on it. Okay. All right, so Teddy Roosevelt had some progressive reforms, but overall he was much more conservative than Teddy Roosevelt. Sorry, I said it wrong. William Howard Taft had progressive reforms, but overall was more conservative than Teddy Roosevelt. And so the thing about William Howard Taft is he actually did a lot of things. If you look down at the bottom, it says he busted more trusts than Teddy Roosevelt did, but he did not distinguish between good and bad trust.
Knocked them all out.
He just knocked them all out, which is pretty much what a politician should do, since trusts weren't good. But people really liked Teddy Roosevelt, and because of this, William Howard Taft got a lot of backlash on this, and people stopped liking him because he did not exactly follow what Teddy Roosevelt said. He just went and did his own thing, which we should all do. Okay, so he ended up busting so many trusts, he lost the support of his party. So, of course, Teddy Roosevelt's like on vacation in Africa, hanging out, and he's like, whoa, 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 I set William Howard Taft up to do my job well, and he has not done anything that I've asked him to do. So, Teddy Roosevelt comes back out, and he speaks out against President Taft. Okay, so what happens is by the time William Howard Taft's 4 years is up, then Teddy Roosevelt kind of comes back in, okay? So, William Howard Taft...
I'm Teddy Roosevelt.
That's right. William Howard Taft is running for re-election, okay? And here we have Teddy Roosevelt wanting to run too. And you can see that he is split up, and they call it the Bull Moose Party, okay? So, Taft wins the Republican nomination. So what does Teddy Roosevelt do, Elise?
He forms his own party.
He forms his own party, which is kind of crazy and very much like what may happen in our next political election with Mr. Donald Trump. So we have, Taft wins, and of course, TR is a little sour about it. So TR comes up with a progressive party. They call it the Bull Moose Party, okay? So what he essentially does here is going to split the Republican Party. So there's not going to be a way for the Republicans to win because the Republicans are split. They don't know. Should I vote for Taft? Should I vote for Roosevelt? Should I vote for Taft? Okay, and that's going to split the vote. Now, while this is all happening, Teddy Roosevelt's out there giving a speech saying, vote for me, and he had an assassination attempt. Where is that bullet, Elise?
In his lung.
It's in his lung. I know it looks like it's butt, but it's not his butt. It's his lung. Okay, so you can see he was holding up a speech. Sorry, the camera's messing up. You can see his speech has a bullet hole in it. And he, got shot, and he kept talking, which is why it damaged his speech and his eyeglass case. And I love this one. I don't always get shot, but when I do, I proceed to speak for 90 minutes uninterrupted.
Savage.
He is savage. All right, so what this does is splits the Republican vote, so the Democrats win. So this is going to allow Woodrow Wilson, who's on your Iron-Jawed Angels video that we were watching, to become president. The Democrats win. So if you actually look, the breakdown here is that the Democrats are going to get most of the electoral votes, and Teddy Roosevelt and William Taft, they split it. Now, to be very fair, Elise, they would not have won, the Republicans, based on that electoral vote. And then we had Eugene V. Debs, who was a socialist who also ran.
He tried.
He tried. He did. And so, because of this, Woodrow Wilson's going to become president, but we're all very thankful for that because he's president during World War I, which is a very important time in our history. So, let's go through Woodrow Wilson. How would you describe Woodrow Wilson?
Hardworking.
Hardworking. And look at that. Uncle Sam is lifting his hat to Woodrow Wilson. There you go. So, he had some policies, New Freedom being one. It was a progressive program and continued progressive reforms, such as, if you look in here, trust regulation, tariffs. So remember, tariffs are taxes on exports and imports. Okay? He came up with the Federal Reserve System, aka the Fed, as they call it, to control the economy. So each part of the nation has their own Federal Reserve. That's where they print money, and that's where they control interest rates, and people, like I said, supervise banks. Have you ever been to a Federal Reserve?
Yes.
Yes. They print money there. It's pretty cool to watch. And this is kind of shows you some of these things. You want to read those for us, Elise?
So you have weakness of the existing system. There's no plan for times of financial crisis. There were no plan. The solution was to create 12 Federal Reserve districts, A through L. And the purpose was to control the nation's supply of money.
So this is all, before this, there's tons of depressions and recessions in American history, and this is supposed to help balance it out. Okay, this is in the 19-teens, okay, 1912 and on, and it will help some, but what do we have coming up in the 1930s? That's going to be a recession.
The Great Depression.
The Great Depression. Pretty sad. Tune in for that episode in a couple weeks. Okay, and so also what he did is he did the Clayton Antitrust Act so that there is more clear law making trust illegal. So if you remember, the first one was the Sherman Antitrust Act, which is down here and can be represented by Teddy Roosevelt standing like he's going to get the bad trust but let the good trust go. The Clayton Antitrust Act, if you see it, says no trust, never allowed, don't care if you're good or bad. All right, so if you can see, progressive reforms, how they're changing the federal government. The government is more involved, there's more employees. And that is the end of our session today. It has been fun, and make sure you do your left side and your summaries. And don't forget that we will be watching Orange All Angels right before fall break. Thanks, Elise.
Do your homework!